Happy Monday, my stinkers. Welcome to my podcast, Anecdotes with Alex. I am Alex, and thank you for tuning in for another week. I hope you all are doing well and enjoying the weather that you have wherever you're at. I am doing all right myself. I'm enjoying the weather. It's a little too hot for my liking, though. Like, the UV rays make you feel like I'm being cooked like a rotisserie chicken every time I walk out there. And that is not the vibe. I cannot wait until the fall. Yeah, I think that's all I was gonna say. I don't know. I said thank you for tuning in already, but thank you again. This week, I wanted to talk about leadership. Leadership is a very interesting topic for me because I have always kind of, I don't know how to put it. I feel like my entire life I've heard the words like, you have good leadership potential, right? And in the last couple of years, being promoted and also kind of being forced into like a platoon sergeant position that my feet clearly do not fit the boots that this position has, but I'm trying and I'm learning, and I feel like regardless of how hard that being in this position has been, I have learned a lot. And last night at my civilian job, I just work retail part-time. I had the displeasure of closing with somebody who I do not think is a good leader. And then I was upset. I was very upset. Let me be clear on that. The way that the closing was handled last night, it was not good at all. And just the barking of orders and the refusal to let us go home until a little, task was done. It was not like a little task. It would have been a time-consuming task, but it's a very small task to do in the grand scheme of things. But all that combined, it just infuriated me. And on the way home, I was just thinking about like the fact that not a lot of people seem to grasp the concept of leadership and being a manager. It should be the same thing. And being in a position of power is being in a position of like leadership position, right? And I feel like most people think that being a good leader is being a good boss. And to me, the word boss screams of plain and simple being bossy. Just barking orders, demanding that things are done. Here's your task. Here's the list of tasks that I need from you. Here's your deadlines. And good luck. And if you hear from me, it's probably a bad thing. That is terrible. That sounds horrible to me. And I've been under people like this. And it's terrible. It is a bad time for everybody involved, right? You would never want to have a boss, and you never want to be the boss that people dread when you come in or when you're around, right? The mood should be turn up when you get there, even if you're the boss. It should not be everybody's diva down, nobody wants to talk to you, and everybody's avoiding eye contact with you. If that happens when you walk into a room and you're in a leadership position, you're the problem. Okay? Anyways, that being said, I have been thinking about leadership and kind of what it is to me, because I want to continue to grow in my leadership, and I want to, climb the ladder of leadership. And I just want to keep growing as a person, right? And one of my goals in life is just to influence as many people as possible. And you can do that through leadership positions, right? You can do that even just in your daily life. But I know I'm going to stay in the military. I just re-enlisted for another 3 years, right? So with that means I should probably keep progressing in my career. And this last drill, we had my first sergeant retire, and he is just the embodiment of what a leader should be in my eyes. Servant leadership and making sure your people are taken care of and putting people first is just something that he always did, making you feel seen, making you feel understood, making you feel cared about, even though you're only there once a month. And the ability to do that, and he was always just willing to kind of stand on the front lines for us and advocate for his soldiers when needed, you know, and that just his style of leadership is always, always, always going to stick with me and is going to be absolutely like one of my foundational pillars as I continue to try and grow as a leader. But that was the way that he carries himself and the way he interacts with us, his soldiers, really just, it was like sirens going off in my head last night when this lady was wanting us to, we went home 30 minutes late last night because she just wanted like stupid little tasks on like putting a tag on a shirt, right? And going to find another shirt to match a tag to it. It just, that was not putting your people first at all. And it's almost baffling to me that it's so common too to see people not being good leaders. It's more so about how bossy can I be and what feeds my ego so that I feel better about myself. And those people who are just in leadership positions or use their positions of power to just feed their egos and not take care of themselves and use their positions of power to further their own, agendas or further their own benefits. It's more common than you think, unfortunately, and it's very, very, very sad. And so that incident last night, along with my first sergeant's retirement, really just got me thinking about what it means to be a leader. And I wrote down some things that I think are things that make you a good leader. So the first one, I kind of mentioned it already, is putting your people first. People first, the goal second, mission second, or whatever. Because your goals as a team are not going to be accomplished unless your people are good to go, right? And it just, again, it's almost, I'm like in disbelief that you would put a mission first. For example, last night, the mission is to close and, close the store, whatever, lock it up. And to me, being a people first kind of leader, it would have been like, okay, 9:45 hits, we're running late. Let's get the essential tasks done. Essential tasks being taking the money out of the registers, making sure, jewelry is locked up. Things are secure, right? I'm not saying put your people first in the sense that like, fuck the mission. No, it's taking care of the essentials of the mission, right? If you absolutely cannot put your people first in like the best way possible, you need to know how to negotiate both things, right? And that's a skill that I think definitely takes practice. But you're just making sure your people are taken care of holistically is going to take you a lot further than making sure that you're just working your people to the mission every single time without taking a second to at least make sure that they're doing okay, right? I really don't think it's that hard. So that's something that I think it just encapsulates a good leader to me, is just putting your people first, mission second, or mission 1.5 if you want to. But that, and then under that, I kind of put like being there for your people, caring up, being an understanding leader, an empathetic leader. You're a person too. Outside of a leadership hat, whatever leadership hat you may have, you're still a person, right? So you have to understand where your team's coming from. Like if somebody's sick in your team, I would hope you're not asking them to come into work, right? As a leader, you should be able to either find somebody to cover down for them or cover down yourself, right? Like you have to be there for your team the way that most often they are there for you without miss, right? You're not a leader without the people. And I think people forget that your leadership title means absolutely nothing if you don't have people that are serving under you. So I just let that sink in. As a leader, you're nothing without the people under you. So you need to make sure that you are taking care of them. And if you are a good leader and you're making sure that you're putting your people first, that they're taken care of, that you're understanding of where they're coming from, that, life hits them or whatever, they will be there for you as well. Like the first time I was talking about, I would do anything for that man. Somebody's shooting, I'll stand in front of that man. He is a good leader. And there are people who I'm like, girl, there are bad leaders that I would be behind them. They could be the human shield. And that really is the difference in leadership and whether your people are willing to be there for you or not. Right? So another thing that I wrote is, as a good leader, you need to communicate effectively and transparently. As a leader, you are a middleman. Like, this is something that I learned from experience. You are not really at the top of the pyramid, that you are a middleman 99% of the time. And you need to be good at advocating for your soldiers to the higher echelons of leadership so that they can appropriately give you the resources or whatever your soldiers may need or your people may need to take care of your team. And vice versa. You also need to be, a good mediator between the higher echelons and what their missions, what their goals are, and being able to properly disseminate and delegate that to your team so that it is a win-win situation, right? So the goal can be done properly, effectively, efficiently, and safely, while also making sure that it just gets done in general, right? So again, that is a skill that I feel like should be practiced and is something that I think I was not very good at, and I'm getting better. I wouldn't even say that I'm good at it, but it is something that I feel like has been really, really important, especially when, I've asked my soldiers a couple of times, like, what do you need from me? What would make your time here better or more worthwhile, or what would make it less sucky, I guess. And a lot of the times it's just, we just need transparent communication. If it's 1700 and we're not going home, why are we not going home? We just want to know why. Like, most people understand that you're there to work, right? When you clock in, you clock out, you're there the entire time. But if we're not doing anything, or we're doing tasks that don't seem to make sense, just tell us a why. Having that clear communication and being able to relay it appropriately to and from your team, those serving under you and those serving above you, is something that is just, one, it's going to save you from a lot of miscommunication, and it's just going to make for a better time all around when people know what's going on both sides, right? And I just mentioned that I ask my soldiers from time to time, like, what do you need from me? Or they at least know that I'm approachable, right? If they have something going on, or they're like, hey, like, what's going on here? They at least know that they can approach me, right? And just being open to feedback from others and your team is 100% going to make a difference. Because if you're somebody who your people feel like they can't go to for either the good or the bad, that's concerning. Okay? If your people feel like they can't text you or call you or email you when something comes up, unexpectedly, that is concerning. All right? That is very concerning. And I think that's something that it shouldn't really be hard to do, to make sure that you are conveying yourself, carrying yourself, and acting as the type of leader who would be willing to listen and figure things out for your people. It almost baffles me. I'm saying this and it almost baffles me that some people don't even do this to begin with. But I know people who are in leadership positions who I would not want to approach at all, for the good or the bad. Right? And that's very tragic. Very tragic. And that's how miscommunication, again, it starts like that. Like, they don't feel comfortable telling you things. They don't feel comfortable, good or bad, again, and then it just, that's how problems become kind of swept under the rug, or, they're never even known to you because these people don't even trust you. If you do not have trust with the people that you're serving, on a team with, like, I don't even know what to tell you. And that actually reminds me of something that I didn't even write down, but as a leader, you should remember that you are serving your team. Oftentimes they are, working under you, serving under you, but at the end of the day, you should be working for them. As a leader, you work for your people. You are there to advocate for them. You are there to make sure that, they are good to go. So remember that. Just because people are under you, it does not mean that you're kind of done. You work for them. And you put them first, right? And then the last one that I feel like I see a lot of, both civilian and military, or I guess I don't see a lot of, is not asking others to do things that you wouldn't do yourself, right? Like, there are times when, let me think of an example. For example, at the end of drill, right, we have to do cleanup, and that includes, taking out trash, mopping, etc., etc. If you yourself have never picked up a broom or taking out the trash, or are not willing to do so if needed, I would just say, in my opinion, you are not a good leader. If your crew's working and they're busting ass, and all you're doing is standing there, I don't know, quote unquote, supervising, you need to get your ass up and go take the trash out yourself, right? Because if your crew's busting ass, for example, last night, we're all hustling, trying to put racks away, trying to clear out registers, trying to do this, trying to do that. And this supervisor person is just not really doing anything. And in that time, she could have easily gotten the tickets for the close, right? This is the same thing. At drill, for example, if people are still putting vehicles away or stuff like that, and there's like nobody in the area to start doing the cleanup, well, how hard would it be for you to start the cleanup, right? And then you can hand it off or whatever. Or I know, like, you get pulled away sometimes, especially like being in leadership. You're like, I got meetings, or I got this, or I had to do this. That's fine. But you can't, I just don't understand the concept of, like, if everybody's busy, I would not call one of my soldiers that's out putting vehicles away to come take out the trash if I'm standing right in front of the trash, right? And just things like that. And that's not like a super extreme example, but that's something that is kind of like an everyday thing, right? And I feel like you see it all the time. And that's just being lazy. That is just being lazy and using your leadership position as basically a way to just feel like you're in charge. And that is really not what leadership should be about. It should be about, like I've said multiple times, I feel like I'm a broken record this podcast, making sure that your people are good to go, that they're taken care of. And bananas, like I said, that some people don't operate like this, but it is what it is. Anyways, that's all I have to say, because I feel like the rest, if I kept going, it'd just be redundancy. But anyways, I hope you found this, I don't know, not interesting. I didn't really say anything crazy, but, I guess I'll just say thank you for listening to my rant about what I think good leadership is. Are there any things that you disagree with? And if there are, let me know. I want to hear, because I feel like a lot of people do have really, really differing views on what leadership and good leadership is and what it means to be a leader. And I mean, maybe somebody will change my mind on any of these things, but I'm really curious to see if anybody has a different opinion, or maybe something I missed, like a quality of a really good leader that maybe I missed, because I was just kind of throwing things out there that came to the top of my head from this interaction that I had last night. And yeah, again, thank you for listening. We'll see what's up in terms of my posting schedule, because I'll be pretty busy starting the 20th, and then in July I'll be heading to JRTC, so I won't even be home at all. So I think maybe I'll try and pre-record some stuff so that content can keep going up and I can be consistent and just kind of drop back in where I left off when I return. But we shall see. For now, I'll see you next time, and have a wonderful, wonderful day. Adios.